Hello, this is my introduction to the Black Farmers of America, and this is a brief history. This is from the website PBS.
When it comes
In 1960s, the air of resistance and turbulence helped create hip-hop. Hip-hop became our voice that was for so long silenced.
It tells more about the Black Farmers. I didn't even start with
In
that.
a global context, people across cultures can listen and say, that's my story too.
to understanding financial inequality in this country, economists often point to the absence of African American generational wealth as one principal factor to resources passed from parent to child.
Fair
As
use,
John Yang
copyright
reports, for many African
1976.
Americans, one source of the problem goes back decades.
Over the past century, African Americans have lost millions of acres of farms they owned across the South. It's a trend propelled not just by economic forces, but by white racism and local white political and economic power. It's not just a legacy of the Jim Crow South either. Most of the losses have occurred since the 1950s. That history and its lasting effects are the subjects of the cover story of the September issue of the Atlantic magazine. It's written by Van Newkirk, who's a staff writer at the magazine. Van, thanks for joining us tonight. What is important about this story? Why did you want to tell this story, and what is important you think that people should know from it?
Well, right now the country is in the middle of a lot of debates over the racial wealth gap, over the status and economic prosperity or lack thereof of African Americans here, and also about reparations, perhaps. And I wanted to, with this piece, recenter the conversation on the South, on black folks in the South who often get left out of this conversation, on one of the places where the deficit has been the most extreme, and that's in farming and in the ownership of land.
You call this, the headline is the Great Land Robbery. What happened? Give us an idea of what happened.
So what happened was during, pretty much after the middle of the 20th century, federally funded farm programs. They were put out there to give small and middle-sized farmers loans, to support farms, to keep them going through bad economic times. They systematically disenfranchised and also discriminated against black farmers. So they didn't get the loan amounts, they were denied loans that they were entitled to, and often these local USDA programs were used as bully pulpits or forces to actually push black farmers off their land.
And some of this was actually accelerated or exacerbated as a result of the Civil Rights Movement, that this was a reaction to the Civil Rights Movement.
Right, so most of the USDA funding was actually leveraged through locally elected boards. And guess who could not vote in the South? So what would happen is these boards were dominated by the segregationists. And if you were a black farmer who needed money to grow your crops next year, one of the ways they can ensure you never joined the NAACP or never went out to vote or march against segregation was to hold that money in their hand and say, you're not getting this money unless you toe the company line. And so what they did to black farmers who didn't do that, who did go out and join the NAACP and these organizations, they took their money from them.
And you also talk about the lasting effects of this, not only the loss of sort of family wealth, but also the political effects.
Right. Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, these were states that were, if they weren't majority black going into the Great Depression and beyond, were close to being about half black. And what prompted the Great Migration, quote unquote, that saw millions of black people leave the South was the fact that a lot of them had their land stolen. Maybe, and I think this is probably what happens, if they hold on to that land, if they're able to make money in the South and vote in the South and have some type of stake in the future of their kids living in the South, perhaps those three states at least stay majority black. What happens to the Electoral College if we have three majority black states? What happens to the Senate? Yeah, those are big questions.
You told this story in part through a woman in her 60s now. She's the third generation of her family to be working the same farmland. The family was able to hold on to this land. Her name is Willena Scott White. And let's take a listen to a little bit of what she told you.
It's dear to me that my children know what my ancestors went through for us to be where we are and who we are. Because I'm a firm believer that if we don't know our history, then we repeat the mistakes over and over again.
Knowing your history, she says that families were denied their history by having their farmland taken away. Talk about that, the other effects of this, the impact it has on families.
Well, I talked to dozens of farm families for this story, and the reason why Willina's particular story and character got to me is because she's a historian. This is in her bones. She wants to build a museum in the Delta to honor not just her father and grandfather, but all the other farmers who came before her. I think she embodies the idea that what we're talking about here is not just money, not just the access to land, but the ability to put down cultural roots, to have a place to call your own. That's history, right? That's a thing that I do not believe we quite understand. It's lost when people are forced to move, when they are denied the ability to own the land under their feet. They are denied a bit of their history. And these people who live in the Delta now, black folks who live in the Delta now, they are in this place that was built with their hands and work that they are part of, but not allowed to actually hold any part of.
You also talk in your survey how a lot of this land, through various transactions, is now held by pension funds, by venture capitalists, by hedge funds. You seem to hint that you think these transactions were somehow unethical?
I believe that it's possible through totally ethical means at this point, so many decades away from the original theft, to receive the land legitimately. You know, if you buy it from somebody who owned it and they don't have the lineage of the land, they don't know where it came from, that's a legal purchase. What I try to make the point of in the piece is that it probably doesn't matter whether an individual company got its land portfolio in a place where predominantly black folks lived and worked and should own the land. It doesn't really matter if they got it individual plots of land ethically or legally. What matters is that at some point the land was taken unethically and was taken away from these black folks illegally. What is our legal, ethical, moral responsibility as a people to rectify that?
Well, let me ask that. You talked about reparations earlier. How should we be thinking about rectifying this?
I do not believe the current reparations debate, in its well-meaning and well-intended effort to try and quantify every single thing that was done to black people since slavery, that's an amazing effort. And I believe over the last 5 to 10 years, there have been people doing work that folks have not been able to approach in 150 years on quantifying in terms of a dollar amount. I think that approach, though, has lost the focus on land and land ownership and collective land ownership in some ways, and the sentimental and cultural and generational meaning of attachment to a place and having mobility be by choice instead of by being forced out. I think that's a dimension that should be added back to this conversation. Is the original promise of reparations was a land grant. It was 40 acres and a mule. If people didn't love it because it had certain monetary value, they loved it because it gave them a place to call home forever. It gave them something to give to their children, not just money, but a sense of belonging, a place they can put their name on. And that's, I do believe the current reparations debate is missing a little bit of that.
Van Newkirk, its cover story, The Great Land Robbery, in the September issue of The Atlantic. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The jealousy is unbelievable when it comes to black people. But this is a historical pictures of black farmers. I'm going to take you through some pictures. This was in Wisconsin. There were black farming in Wisconsin. Black farmers in Wisconsin. Harriet Tubman. Excuse me. the history of black farming. These are more pictures of black farmers. Cotton fields. But the black farmer in America is one of the backbone of America that goes back to slavery. After the people that they were servants, well, practically, they're they went from slaves to servants, and so many people left them property, left them land, and then the white people come along and take it back from them. After they spent, like it was in the Bible, like Jacob and this America, some people would go and just take the land. Here's a present day farmer. Just take the land. Don't even. And a lot of people got lynched, got their land burnt down, and it still happens to this day. In fact, I'm going to show you a story later on, and it's circling the internet right now. Black farmers. They are like a hidden gem that they want to just put. They show you farmers, but they always show you white farmers. But they don't show you black farmers in the videos and commercials. That's the only way you gotta find out about black farmers. It's like I always said, it's almost like America. It's almost like to be black is to remain invisible until something big created. Then they want to take credit for it. Like, what I'm saying? It's crazy. Until you do something miraculous, then they want to be in your spotlight. But when you're on the low, they don't want you just another Negro. It's just I find it just amazing, really, really fascinating. But this is a historical. So black people didn't do nothing. They just got off they didn't do nothing. And a lot of them did remain down south and became farmers after slavery. But they let you believe that black people didn't do nothing. We were just a bunch of Negroes just collecting checks. But it was up to America the way they say, stay away from these hard-working black people, Stay away from these hard-working black people. Why? Because they're dumb and they're illiterate. And some of us might have been illiterate, but some knew how to farm. Then they try to take that away from them and try to control them with that. Yeah, we just say it's another day. And nothing new up under the sun. Here's another segment about the CEA renegade culture ties to black history. This tells you the history of it. Yep, this is a history of it. So shout out to all the black farmers out there, because they never get their story told. They never get their near the backbone of America like the other farmers are, only because they're black. And that's subconsciously. There's a lot of videos on related from the YouTube channel. But Black Farming on AG, this was on NBC Learning. This was on. I'm not gonna play these videos because probably try not to get a copyright strike. Copyright. But that's Black Farming. Okay. Let's tell more of the history. Okay. So I'm about to take you to what's going on today with what this man been going through recently. Shit. I don't know if I think I like the video. And it's been going around on the video. This Colorado farmer. A few people talking about it right now. And how he's getting harassed to the point that someone got murdered on his job, on his farm. But this is I'm gonna play a little segment of let me see, a runaway slaves video on this one.
When pain says I'm here, I say, so are they. Just want to leave. 12 hours of uninterrupted pain relief. A leave. Who do you take it for?
Sunday, CBS presents The One Night. The stars align.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so what I had to do for this channel is create an email list. The reason why is because due to the nature of the content of this channel, I don't know when the content is going to just mysteriously disappear or this channel will be shut down. The email list is just for the followers or the subs so that you know where these things are just in case this mysteriously happens. So just go down to the link in the description of the video, click join email list, put your email address in there, and boom, you're good to go. That means that I can also send you other information that I cannot post here on YouTube, and you'll also know where the channel is and where the content is in the event that it does disappear. Okay, let's cook. Okay, first I have to say big up to subs Kimberly Terrell and Simon S. for keeping this story moving, which is what I'm trying to do now, okay? So, you know that on this channel I've covered numerous stories in history that highlight American white domestic terrorism or Pell Voltron, because I think it's important for us to know this is part of our history, a very important part of our history in America. And, you know, another thing as far as our history is concerned, as black people, we've worked hard, we've acquired land, we've done everything 5 times more than any, you know, white citizen has done. You know, we work the land, we feed our communities, we've built our own communities, we've invented everything, you know, and there are numerous documented incidents where white domestic terrorism have destroyed our towns with the help of the government, stole our land, flooded our towns, created floods so that our towns were underwater, created obstacles and things like that so that we couldn't, you know, have the land anymore, lynched the owners of the land, used white girls as decoys to say that they were touched or raped by a black man just so they can have an excuse to do something to the black man, such as what we know about in stories that I covered on this channel, like the brother Lynch Shaw, you know, or like the brother Roy Ville, which is the most recent one. You can check that story out. Or you can go to another story in this channel dealing with brother Henry Peg Gilbert. And there are many more where these people did all kinds of disgusting terroristic things just because they wanted the land. You know, they would do little tactics where they try to make something appear as though it's legal because they have, you know, the county and the states working with them where they can, you know, give somebody, a black person, something like, hey, well, you have to go to this, and this on this date because of this violation. All a bunch of lies. When they can't get you off the other stuff and you're just so sharp and you got all your T's crossed and I's dotted, what they do is try to go the legal route to act as if you did something illegal to break the law. This is just American white history. This is what they do. You know, these Pell terrorists, they form Voltron and come together to destroy our properties in towns like in Wilmington, North Carolina, Tulsa, Charleston, Memphis. Listen, we can go on and on. The stories that I have on this channel are only just a tip, you know. We can go on and on. Everything that we have done, built, created on our own, have been destroyed by not only the community, I'm saying not only the white community, but also with the help of the law of the government, okay? Now, we have to remember also that at one point, right, the majority of these lynchings, a lot of black men were lynched, okay, at one point in history, black women as well, but black men more so because they were, what, the men, the business owners, you know, the farmers, things like that. A lot of these men were lynched simply because they were farmers and they were business owners, and they knew that if they could take out this person, it would put a major dent. You know, it would really break the foundation of what our people had going on. And the thing about these stories is times have not changed, nor have the people who used to do these acts. These are their great-grandkids. These are other people who have history in their county clerk offices and all kind of other stuff. Nothing has changed. If somebody tell you something changed, I don't care what color they are, they're being disrespectful. And they might even be trying to set you up for failure, saying that things have changed. Have not changed whatsoever, you know. But let's get on to it. There's a black family in Colorado who's dealing with these pale knuckle-dragging beasts right now to this day. Right now to this day, there's a family, a black family, farmers in Colorado who are dealing with this. Their names are Courtney Mallory and his wife Nicole Mallory. Black couple, law-abiding citizens. Nicole's a military veteran, and they both love farming. A little more about them. Nicole is from Indiana, and Courtney is from Houston. Now, Courtney grew up in the inner city. He's the husband. And his grandparents were farmers. And so, being that his grandparents were farmers, he always had a love for agriculture. You know, eventually, at one point in his life, he decided that he wanted to get back into what his family did, which was farming, okay? Now, in the year 2017, Courtney ended up in Colorado because he was accepted into a veteran teach program at the Community College in Denver, okay? And this campus is part of the Colorado Community College system. Now, I do not think Courtney was in the military. I believe it was just his wife, Nicole. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just 90% sure that Nicole is the veteran, okay? So Courtney finished school in the year 2020, and after he finished school in Colorado, him and Nicole, his wife, they decided they want to stay in Colorado and build a future. Now, to stay in Colorado and farm, it was a good look for them too, because the landscape in Colorado was beautiful, and at the time the land was cheap, so it was a good look for them. So what happened is they eventually landed in a place called Pikes Peak, okay? And the goal was to purchase some land, have a farm, do what farmers do what thriving people want to do, and have this land for generations to come. So what they did was they hired a realtor. This land for generations to come. So what they did was they hired a realtor, okay? They seen a property that they wanted initially. Courtney and Nicole did. Mallory, they seen a property that they wanted in 2020. Initially, they put in a bid, but their offer was shot down because they were black. This is very common when you're buying a house. This goes for everybody, you know, depending on where you're trying to buy it at. The offer was shot down simply because they were black. But that didn't discourage them. They kept looking, and they eventually found a massive ranch that had been abandoned and in foreclosure. So when they seen this ranch, boom, they wanted it. They purchased the land. They got it. So now Courtney and Nicole, young black couple, they have 1,000 acres of land, a ranch in El Paso County, Colorado. Okay, 1,000 acres. El Paso County, Colorado. They named this Freedom Acres Ranch. Okay. Now, Courtney and Nicole, they knew it would take a lot of work to get this place together. You know, it was a lot going on there. You know, a lot of people were using this property as dumping grounds and things like that. But this is a lot of land. They knew they can get it together. They had goals. They're going to do it. That's what black people do. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, when they purchased this land, they put everything into it. They put all their money into it, all their resources. And they did that because they knew that they would recover their money from raising beef, you know, cattle, pigs, goats, chickens, and things like that. So they figured, listen, we could go ahead and exhaust our money. When we get this popping right here, we're going to get our money back. So this is what they're doing. So now Courtney and Nicole, they're working the land, they're thriving, they're cleaning the property, they're getting it done, they're preparing it, and they're turning it into what they always wanted it to be. But there is a problem, y'all. That problem, white people. It's just that simple. White people in Colorado, in this area. These white people are watching. They're getting upset. And quite naturally, we know from our history, that's what they do. Real live haters. Real live haters, okay? And also, some of these white people who are getting upset, they wanted this land, okay? So people in this town, they begin to question Nicole and Courtney about purchasing this land. You know, some of them told them that they were interested, these white people, that they were interested in purchasing this land as well. You know, well, you might think, just like I'm thinking, well, why didn't you just, if you wanted it, you were here all this time. They just got here, got your whole family here. Why didn't you just get it? Well, I don't know exactly why, but I suspect the reason why that these white people didn't get this land is because they couldn't pay for it, and there was no government program that would have given it to them for free. The people probably said, listen, you got to pay with this right here with straight up money. We need money, you know. And we know that white people in America are just used to getting everything free, handouts, or for a portion, or the best deals, or a fraction of the cost, just because they were white and the system was made for them to thrive and be successful. Where we from, we call it welfare, but this is just regular white stuff. A lot of people, black people, don't even know. You know, they don't even know what real welfare is. You know, if they knew the handouts that white people were getting, they would probably pass out. So that's probably why these white people were jealous and couldn't purchase the land, because you probably had to pay for it straight up with money. And they get used to that. You know, the white community, when they don't get things free, they get used to it. And they become real spoiled welfare babies, always looking for a handout, never wanting to accept accountability, never wanting to work hard for anything. You know, if they had the land, they weren't working hard anyway. They would just, get slaves and, chattel slaves. And now what they do is they do the same thing with Spanish-speaking people to do this stuff for them and treat them bad or whatever. You know how it goes. They're not going to do anything, but they're going to find a way to make money. Now, you know, and we know from history that when white people can't get their way, they become very violent, very upset, very terroristic. So Courtney and Nicole, they have turned down numerous requests to lease acreages of this property to local people who probably wanted to do some farming on the land. You know, hey, can we lease this area, this little part right here for you? We want to do this. And they've always turned them down, which I believe it was a smart move by them. Don't do the business with them. That could be the beginning of a downfall, or actually just pretty much letting the ops get more access to your thing. So that was a good thing to turn them offers down. So as time goes on, Courtney and Nicole Mallory are doing their thing. They have a farm, they have animals, they're thriving. But again, white people are there. So they slowly started to experience this thing called Pelvotron and terrorism from the white community where they live, on their farm, on their land. These white people showed them what their true colors were from the beginning. They didn't even try to rock them to sleep. You know how sometimes white people lure people in with the passive aggressive behavior or the fakeness, whatever. They didn't do that with them out there, with Courtney and Nicole. They went hard from the beginning. They immediately showed them that they were not wanted there. They continued to trespass their land and drop trash, walk on the land carrying guns, dumping trash. These pale entitled Karens will come to the land and ask questions about their identity, running their mouth as usual, saying things that they shouldn't be saying, doing it just because, they look at us as if we are less than people. Some of the terroristic issues that Courtney and Nicole have dealt with since they purchased this property, okay? I'm gonna go over some of the terroristic issues that these people have put them up against. Their tools have been tampered with and destroyed. A prize calf that they have had has been stolen. A prize calf. Now, people, you may not know a lot about farming. I don't know a lot either, a whole lot either, but I know one thing. A prize calf is a big deal. And to have your prize calf stolen, that's like you having a good portion of your business taken away from you, okay? They had a prize calf that was stolen. Their hogs have been killed. They have goats that have been beheaded and butchered and found on the property. The mother of their Pyrenees puppies was poisoned along with several pigs. Their chicken coop was set on fire. Their fence was damaged over 10 times. Their surveillance equipment was tampered with and destroyed. These people are using some kind of devices that could just destroy their surveillance equipment, whatever they're using, laser beam, who knows what they're using. They report that they see strangers pointing a device towards their cameras and it jams the cameras up and takes out the signals. Their electricity lines have been cut. Neighbors have been stealing well water and running an illegal line from their source. This is the type of stuff these people out here doing, y'all. Right now, not 1820. Okay, and one day, Courtney, the husband, he was chased by a white man when he was repairing a portion of his fence. This white man was in a car, and he started chasing Courtney. Courtney eventually made it into his vehicle in enough time to get away from this pursuit. Once he made it back to his property, the white man stared the other way. One evening, the wife, Nicole, was followed by a white woman who almost ran her off the road and put high beams on her and pulled out what looked like a gun. Once or twice a week, strange white people drive up to the ranch, stop, take pictures, pull out cameras, and sometimes these white people are brandishing guns. This couple is frequently followed when they go into town. Courtney and Nicole, they're the only black people out here. Or there are a few more, but everybody knows the black people. It ain't like it's 50 black families. No, it's like you can count it on one finger. I believe it might be only 3 or something like that. So they're frequently followed when they go into town. People follow them. They said that they can barely sleep now because they have to stay up and watch the ranch. And in addition to that lack of sleep, they still have to get up and work hard on the ranch to keep the business going.
I got my first Botox cosmetic treatment on a lunch break. The treatment.
Take a break right here. Now, my question is, how patriotic you have to go through? Did you know during this time when these people were living, black people were 3/5 of a human being and still remain to this day, and during the time when these people was alive, that they were inventing black codes for people during that time. Also during that time, but this is part of the Patriot All-America. This is part of being American, being a black American. Because this is what you're descending of, but we a bunch of descendants of illiterate slaves, you know what I'm saying? That didn't do anything, but yet, and this is what they want to feel like they want tough to grown people like you talk to children. But this is during their time. This gives you a good idea, and it gives you the genealogy of what these people went through at that time. And how, as he's telling the story, this where the subconscious racism comes in, because they know the ones who discriminate against black people directly and subdirectly in their mind, this is what they saw. So they would terrorize, like the brother said, and to keep these people scared and feared and subjugated. And these are the people. What happened to all these people who they were ran off their land and they ran up north? They took the land. These are the descendants of the farmers, or those black farmers that were promised land. After this, these pictures show you that they had slaves that they promised to give land to. So they had to run up north. And so this family was on a farm. They had their own farm. But they had to run up north to New York.
People take your information, right? They take all your personal information, your picture, your name, all that address, and they put it on certain places so that people can see this information and harass you. So the white community out there, they have a Facebook page for El Paso County residents, which is where they live, El Paso County, not Texas people. This is in Colorado again. So what these white people did on their Facebook pages, they put their address along with a photo of Courtney, and they put that out there for them all to get on there. These white people go on and leave multiple comments under there, things like they want to defend America against people like this who don't know their rights, they don't know rules and regulations. They will put things like we should light a fire and trap them in, just all kinds of, for real, be honest with y'all, white peopling, man. They see, and since they've been put in this group, since these people who formed this community group have put their picture and address in there, they see more white people coming, trespassing their land, destructing their property. They often see fires and pitchforks. They see fires and pitchforks and other things on their property, things like that. And they're getting sick of it, They're just getting sick of it. Courtney says, I'm out here taking care of animals, but not getting any help. I am getting emotional and frustrated on my end. This is what the husband, Courtney, said. He getting tired of this mess. The Mallorys, the family, they believe that they lost about $200,000 due to all this white terrorism and abuse, to repair things and things like that, and loss of animals. Everybody knows who the Mallorys are around there, and they're known as the N-words or the blacks. Okay? Now, their property also has flags that are flown that can be seen for 2 miles. So the Mallorys have a flag of the U.S Marine Corps, they have a Jesus is King flag, and they have a Black Lives Matter flag. So the people know them, they see these flags, they get pissed off, they get angry, and they acknowledge that the U.S Marine Corps flag does absolutely nothing for them, And here, listen to this, y'all. This part right here is a great example of poor white trash logic and behavior. These people, these white trash people out here, I believe that they, like a lot of them, they have an issue where they have a smaller brain, So during the pandemic, rural areas like where they live at, right, they were hit hard with lack of food. They didn't have as much access to food. And these areas where they're at, they got it much worse than other people, So we even know from the areas that we were in, stores like Starbucks and stuff like that was running out of food. So out there, they had it a lot worse, But Courtney and Nicole, they have a farm. They are good people, okay? So they were able to do something at that time because they said that wherever they went to stores in town. A lot of the meat that was at these stores, the local stores, was outdated and just no good. So what they did was they sold a lot of these stores, produce and meat. Well, I think they're just meat. They sold a lot. They struck an agreement with these stores in El Paso County, and they started to sell these stores who didn't have food, good meat. And again, the Mallory's have like that real good meat, like that grass-fed. I don't know if you into what you eating, but they got that real grass-fed beef and things like that. I mean, they don't got none of that okey doke Murray's food, that Aldi food. You know, I'm talking about as far as the meat. Like they have the real grass-fed organic, the kind that make your eyeballs white and stuff like that. Like the kind when you crack the egg and that joint is orange. You know, not bright yellow. You know, we talking about the real organic food. So they have this food. They struck relationships with about 5 stores in the Denver area to supply them with food for their farm. So that worked out well for them as far as business is concerned. But they noticed that the people that they were living at in the area in El Paso County, these white folks are going hungry. These white people didn't have food. They're starving. They don't have money. They don't have food. So what did Courtney and Nicole do as good black people? They started to give 5 pounds of meat free every day of their high value beef and chicken, right, to these people, feeding these people. Do you know that some of these same white folks that they fed who were hungry are the ones who continue to terrorize them?
Lupus may have kept me away in the past, but today I'm so here because Safnello works on my lupus.
So see how black people are? No matter what, this